Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alva. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. We're here. We're recording on May 12th right now. Our friends will hear this a few days later. Matt, Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Shout out to all the moms.
Hey.
Shout out to our moms. Shout out to our friends' moms. And, shout out to moms in general. Anime moms, video game moms. Matt, who's your favorite video game mom?
Oh. Jaren, I don't know why. For some reason, the first one that came to me was the female character in It Takes Two.
Oh.
I can't think of other moms right now for some reason.
Good pull. Matt, for some reason, whenever someone says video game mom, I don't know why, I instantly think of Bayonetta.
Oh,
and
true.
Even though that might be, touching on some events that happen in potential spoilers, Bayonetta 3, I think for some reason I don't think immediately of Bayonetta 3. I think of the fan art, the Smash Brothers fan art of Joker and how everyone draws Bayonetta as his mom. So
that's a good goof.
I feel like that fan canon has all of a sudden become some sort of internal headcanon to some degree when it comes to Smash Brothers, Bayonetta, and Joker. But Matt, another week back in the mistake zone to tell our friends about all our many mistakes. Matt, what mistakes have you been making this week?
Jaren, after last week's, kind of talk about all this money being spent,
yes,
I thought, I have a huge backlog of, models that I should build before I start buying new ones.
For sure. Matt, I don't know. You sent me a comic recently that I feel touches upon our horrible consumer practices, but please go on.
But, okay, Jaren, I decided that, going to start working on this backlog, and the one that I'm going to start with is, one of my few non-Gundam kits, which is the Amplified Exodia. And
you can't just drop Exodia without, the connotations to the mistake zone, where Matt, does Gundam Exodia compare to the Exodia that I'm thinking of right now, aka the one that will instantly win you a game when you assemble all its limbs in your hand?
Oh, yeah, Jaren, it's that exact same Exodia. Jaren, Exodia is a pointy boy. I never realized that.
Matt, how many hours so far? Wait, have you completed Exodia?
No, Jaren, I formed Exodia's torso and I formed Exodia's legs. I still need to do Exodia's arms.
Now that's 3 more. Wait, torso, legs, and then arms.
Yeah, arms. Two more parts.
You need some draw power, Matt. You need some pot of greed. And that, again, I'm really recalling on my limited Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge from when we were in the 7th grade, and everything is not applicable to how Yu-Gi-Oh is played today. But Matt, are you going to finish Exodia this week?
I'm planning to finish it this week. It isn't a complicated build by any means. I think it's just that, I don't know, I'm just doing it as a slow burn instead of a full focus type thing.
For sure. Okay. I know some friends probably listening were kind of confused about that comic reference from a few sentences ago. Matt, I'm looking at my Steam backlog once again, and I'm seeing a lot of old new games. You know what I mean, Matt?
Yeah.
But I'm also looking at Humble Monthly, where I can pick up, pay a monthly fee, for the month, cancel immediately right after, and then I can get, like Yakuza 7, Like a Dragon. I can get Hi-Fi Rush, which, Matt, I feel like I don't want to go too much into it because it's been the discourse in the video game industry throughout the last week. But Matt, have to shout out to everyone affected by, again, the recent Microsoft layouts, including, the former employees from Arcane Austin, the studio who did Redfall. We have Alpha Dog Studios, who worked on Mighty Doom, Tango Gameworks, who Hi-Fi Rush recently, and Roundhouse Games is being folded into ZeniMax Online, probably going to work on Elder Scrolls Online, maybe Fallout 76. But Matt, rough week in the video game industry.
Yep.
So shout outs and best wishes to everyone affected. But hate to bring this back to consumerism, Matt. But again, thinking about getting some new games that will probably become old new games pretty soon.
Oh, man.
But have to stop, Matt. Have to stop. Because Matt, our friend Mark,
yes,
OG Saturday Morning Arcade, sent me a picture of his 2 new anime figures, and Matt, let's just say I had to add those same figures to my collection. And
oh man,
Matt, remember when I asked you if you were willing to drive 2 hours there and back, like in total, to save, I think, $11. Matt, would you drive 6 hours altogether?
No. You don't have to tell me how much money you're gonna save. I don't think I'm ever gonna drive 6 hours somewhere.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. But
where are you going? Are you going? Are you
leaving
the province, Jared?
I could either drive up north or I can drive to Montreal.
Oh man. For Jared, okay, no, I need to know, how much are you saving on this? Or would you potentially be saving for 6 hours worth of driving?
Matt, I would be saving. Okay, Matt, let's math this out right now. I would be saving $30.
No, Jared, what are you doing? Oh man, Jared, unless you also, just want to take a trip to the place that you're going, I think there's no reason to drive 6 hours.
But Matt, the thrill of the hunt, Matt.
Wait, hang on, Jared. When you say hunt, do you mean that the thing that you're going for might not even be there?
Matt, I'm just going off the GameSpot. What places have inventory map? And Matt, there's a disclaimer. It says might not be totally accurate. Call your store to confirm that. You know me. I'm not calling.
Man. Jared, that's
thrill the hunt, Matt. Thrill the hunt.
It's wild.
I'm not actually going to do it, Matt. That's why we have eBay, and hopefully these are real. I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm always paranoid that something I'm buying off eBay or off Marketplace is not real. But Matt, you know what is real?
What?
Jaren's Kira Sparkling Water review. Matt,
oh man,
I'm down to my last beverage in the stash.
Jared, what are you gonna do after this? You're gonna move to a different drink? You're gonna start remixing? You're gonna do some Jaren originals?
Matt, we may or may not need to record in person next week.
Okay.
So if that works out, got to do it still. Got to bring it so you can get in on the review process, of course. Of course. But for now, Matt, I have my last bubbly.
Okay.
My last flavor from that sale that happened a few months ago. And this time, Matt, I'm drinking some bubbly sparkling water watermelon.
Ooh,
Matt,
okay.
Last time we had watermelon here was that watermelon cucumber from Farm Boy. This is, basic watermelon. So, not gonna lie, Matt. Kind of, recent weeks we had, LaCroix, bubbly grapefruit, bubbly peach. Not the biggest heavy hitters here. I feel like bubbly for me peaked at Mary Berry Bubly because, Matt, you know how much I love a collab and how I too like to be a Mary Berry. But watermelon is usually hit or miss for me. But before I ask you how you feel about artificial watermelon, Matt, gotta take a sip. Matt, I did the sniff test for you, and that hint of that artificial watermelon. Not too
Mm-hmm.
strong,
Mm-hmm.
not the same as grabbing a handful of gummy watermelon, like sour uh, watermelon gummies and taking a big sniff. But
Mm-hmm.
oh, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
this is a really faint watermelon. So you don't actually get the watermelon immediately. I
Oh.
feel like this is all aftertaste where even so after my initial sip, let it linger a bit, nothing, and it wasn't until it's actually a delayed watermelon, and that's when it starts lingering in your mouth. So nothing immediate, but again, yeah, nothing immediate, but it's what hits you after you taste that artificial watermelon taste, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not bad, Matt. It's not bad, but again, maybe this is the flawed, purpose of the Jaren's Kirakira sparkling water review, because when I have a watermelon beverage in Bubly sparkling watermelon, I have
Mm-hmm.
to compare it to what I mentioned before, Farm Boy's cucumber melon, and would I drink this over the cucumber melon? But Matt,
Mm-hmm.
oddly enough, I feel like the cucumber in the Farm Boy cucumber melon kind of puts it a bit over. It's more, I feel like with the cucumber that it adds that crispness.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It makes it a bit more refreshing. Where even though with Bubly, the watermelon, if you want something really subtle, I do recommend. But Matt, I'm going to sparkling water for that crispness, for something refreshing, and I have to say, Matt, I would put this under the Farm Boy cucumber melon.
Ah.
So
Mm-hmm.
this currently takes my new 13th spot, and I think I got that wrong because Matt, I'm looking at my Excel file and I didn't save last week's peach flavor, so that's
Yeah.
on me. Got to go back to the vault for that. But yeah, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
Bubbly watermelon, sparkling water. Again, this isn't a hashtag ad. This isn't a hashtag sponsor. But Matt, I'll give this a hashtag delicious, but
Mm-hmm.
not as delicious as Farm Boy's cucumber melon sparkling water, and that is Jaren's Kirakira sparkling water review for the week. Hopefully, I don't get the burpees for the rest of this episode. But Matt,
Mm-hmm.
what else have you been up to this week?
Okay, Jaren, I just remember something while you were talking about the sparkling water.
Yes.
Okay, so Jaren, I have a question for you because something happened to me this week,
Okay.
which is that an order I made last week got, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, got canceled because it got lost in the mail. And
Oh.
Jaren, I was refunded like the money for this purchase, and they said, hey, if you want to order it again, you can order it again if it's in stock. And Jaren, the stuff is in stock. In this situation, Jaren, would you reorder or would you wait, just in case maybe the package stops being lost?
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
so you're running the gamble. I feel, to be completely honest,
Mm-hmm.
chances are, depending on a purchase, this is going to sound so awful, and this is going to be why people will stop listening to the Mistake Zone, because our constant discussion about our poor consumer habits.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
usually, depending on what the item is, I might have that buyer's remorse, and that might be a blessing in disguise, where it depends if I'm having that remorse, where, oh, I just dodged a bullet price wise, and maybe I wasn't super in love with this thing that I pre-ordered, last year, but all of a sudden it shipped now because it's been produced.
Huh.
So Matt, my
Mhm.
first question is: did you feel buyer's remorse after you pressed, buy or purchase?
Jaren, the answer is technically yes.
Hmm.
But it's gonna go in kind of like, I think, the opposite direction of what you're thinking, which is that I felt I like Jared. Okay, I bought like a Hawaiian shirt that had like a Pokemon design on it,
Fair.
and Jared, I kept like kept when I went to go look at the site, over these past 2 weeks to go see what else or what's going on with my package. I saw other stuff and I was like, oh, Jaren, my buyer's remorse isn't that I bought the shirt, it's that I didn't buy more when I bought it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So now I'm debating on going in again, but this time getting more stuff.
Matt, how in love are you with that design?
Jared, I kind of like it. It's like kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
I don't know. It's just like a kind of like standard looking Hawaiian shirt. Standard like kind of like a dark blues and like reds and stuff on it. But it's like I don't know. It's just like slow pokes with like palm trees, and I'm kind of into it.
Okay. That's fair. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
all you had to say was I'm into it, which bases my question of I would probably reorder it unless there was a chance that it would go on sale end of season and if you're willing to wait. But I feel like if you need to get free shipping or some sort of discount by having a bigger cart,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would. Where
Oh
Matt,
man. Mm-hmm.
um, I've had that situation before where I've had second items ending up being sent to me because the first one was lost in the mail, and weeks later that original ends up coming. So,
Mm-hmm.
Matt, that's just a win. That's just a win where I don't know, Matt. I feel like you can go for the buy your slowpoke Hawaiian shirt, and
Uh
who
huh.
knows, Matt? Maybe you'll have an early Christmas when you least suspect it.
Uh huh.
That's my mentality, Matt. Where if you like the design, I'd say go for it.
Okay.
But hey, you never know. You might have a second one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thrill of the hunt. Oh
Oh man,
man,
Jared,
Matt.
why are you so bad with money?
We some people shouldn't have money, and we are said people who shouldn't have said money.
Oh man.
Where Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we need to kind of disclose that, we're fortunate to be financially stable where,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we pay our bills, we have our savings, we did our taxes, we got our tax returns.
Oh man.
So I don't want the image of us to be, oh, they're just living paycheck to paycheck. Matt, I
Mm-hmm.
never want to live paycheck to paycheck. I make sure to pay my credit cards on time, but at the same time, Matt, if I have some disposable income after some savings and after I buy the real life stuff, I'm going to be buying One Piece figures, even though I don't really like One Piece, but the figures
Oh
are
man.
really nice.
Oh man. They got you, Jared. They got you. Just editing in a quick trigger warning for the following section regarding suicide, bullying, rape, racism, and sexualization. So if those things are not your jam, I do suggest skipping to the next timestamp.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
you know what else had me this week?
Hmm.
Is something I've been playing. No recent activity. This is my segment where if there's nothing new that I played this week, I'm just going to reach into the backlog and pull something up. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I pulled up a purchase I made from a Steam sale. I think not last Steam sale, but like one or two Steam sales ago.
That's pretty recent, actually, for a no recent activity.
No, it's had no recent activity. It had zero playtime, so it still counts.
Uh-huh,
Still
uh-huh.
counts, Matt. Still
Mhm,
counts.
mhm.
And the game I'm talking about right now is called Class of '09. Not to be mistaken for, apparently, Matt, when I was searching this game, there is a television show by the name of Class of '09 as well. So not to be confused with that.
Mhm.
But Matt, the Steam store page describes Class of '09 as this is the anti-visual novel where
Okay.
this isn't a dating sim, but this is a rejection sim where
Uh-huh.
you take the role of Nicole, who unfortunately, due to some circumstances, she once again has to move to a new school and start all over again. And Matt,
Mhm.
I feel like with Class of '09, as the name suggests, this takes place, starting off 2007, ends off around 2009, depending on which ending you get. So you're really going for the high school years of this girl who just kind of moved into town. And it really has that, mid to late 2000s aesthetic. You have references to MySpace. Matt,
Uh-huh.
your
Oh,
menu and when you select your visual novel choices is on your not your T-Mobile sidekick, but your G-Mobile sidekick.
nice,
So
nice, nice, nice.
it's
I
it's a
love that
lot
proof.
of brands and imagery and slang from that era,
Mm-hmm.
that we essentially grew up with grew up with in high school as well. So there is that kind of attachment to it. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, Matt, as a visual novel, I feel like Class of '09, when even though it has that aesthetic, that late 2000s aesthetic. It has again that humor that's associated with it. So again, you're going to have the raunchy dialogue, stereotypical characters. Matt, stop me if you heard this before. You have the nerd um, with bottle glasses who's really into Japanese culture. You
Uh-huh.
have the stoner artsy band kid who likes bands that you haven't heard of, and then you have the obnoxious jock who is
Uh,
again obnoxious.
mm-hmm.
So you have all these different characters that plays on the stereotype. So again, it's like you're watching a teen movie from that era. Same sensibilities, same dialogue, and if you're into that, um, I'm typically into it because again, Matt, we grew up in that era. But
Mm-hmm.
I think what two things get me about Class of '09.
Okay.
One, I think the reason why I wanted to pick up this game originally was it was something that was served to me and our pal Julian a lot on TikTok, where
Uh-huh.
the dialogue that people were reacting to, it was your main character, Nicole, being sharp tongued, her playing off that rejection sim moniker of her just being really standoffish, really witty, and going for that shock factor to the characters you're kind of dealing with. So I was kind of hoping that we're gonna kind of go into that sort of teen, um, kind of movie of that era. I'm saying era a lot,
Uh-huh.
uh, where it's just her being sharp tongue and kind of her getting through all these potential suitors that she doesn't want to date. That was kind of what I thought, and
Mm-hmm.
just witty dialogue all around. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
there is currently 15 endings in Class of '09. I think I've
Oh, that's a
gotten
lot more than I thought you were gonna say.
one third of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, all my
Mm-hmm.
endings so far have been really depressing,
Yeah.
where it's so I'm gonna go through my first run where Matt,
Mm-hmm.
our heroine Nicole, she gets to a new school. She has to deal with the photography teacher who asks her to, hey, do you mind modeling for me? And that turns out that your photography teacher is a white nationalist, and it gets kind of weird in that regard. So you end up going to the principal with your best friend, and turns out the principal won't do anything because the photography teacher has incriminating photos of the principal. And
Well.
after that, storyline is dropped. No reference to kind of that ordeal moving forward. So, cut a few months later, after some dialogue with your mom, we find out that Nicole is essentially trying to be a people pleaser, where she's just entertaining whoever asks her to hang out, wearing, she has a problem saying yes. And all this because I said, yeah, I'm down to help model for my photography teacher, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of eventually leads to her going with the music kid to a show where she meets the former gym teacher who apparently was fired because she reported him, which, Matt, you don't
Mm-hmm.
actually get to experience. But
Uh.
in another playthrough, when I actually went down the gym teacher route, that's where I actually saw the gym teacher story play out. So right off the bat, it's kind of weird to me where essentially all the different paths seem to be happening, but depending on which one you choose, you might not be able to see it, but
Oh,
it's
that's kind
still
of weird.
within, yeah, the kind of context of the overall story, which is kind of weird. And then, you know, she once again tries to, tells the gym teacher that she's not interested, that, he's gross and that, he could, he just needs to leave her alone. And that ends up turning into the fact that the gym teacher tells all his former students that, Nicole slept with the whole, I don't know, lacrosse team. And that, her life becomes a living hell and she ends up killing herself. Should have put a trigger warning there. That really depressing. And as I started going through all the different routes, I don't know, for some reason I had this image in my head that with Nicole, it would be a lot more, I don't know, empowering from her, just considering all the witty dialogue I saw on TikTok. But for most of the endings I've gotten, it's, Nicole fails at trying to kill herself, or Nicole is expelled and now she has to work in fast food the rest of her life, and has to hide every time she sees someone from high school. And even from the endings I did get, the most neutral one I have is her exposing how all the teachers are creeps, but then it's her realizing, oh wait, I still have, like, I'm not changing for the better. I still have trauma because I witnessed my dad kill myself as well. So I don't know. Maybe I was going into this expecting something different, but again, it's, this is just making me sad, Matt. I wanted to follow the story of a witty girl with a sharp tongue, but instead I get really heavy topics that seem really soul crushing, where Nicole finds herself in so many instances of being harassed, of, just dealing with people who are trying to take advantage of her and adults around her not really helping her. And that doesn't feel great. While there are instances of, that witty writing you do see in TikTok, maybe I have to play more to get to that point where Nicole comes up on top. But once again, not to say that Nicole is a saint during the whole thing. It's her being kind of brash, being, just difficult, not necessarily difficult, but it's essentially a lot of skipping class, potential drug use, and stuff like that. So again, even though she's no saint herself, it's just, I don't know, the vibes are weird, at least for me. At least for me. And then it gets to also another point of, your each run, I guess, takes around, let's say 20, maybe half an hour at most.
Okay, that's a lot shorter than I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. So I guess having 15 minutes or 15 endings kind of makes sense. But again, Matt, it's one of those things where it's a visual novel. You're reading the same things over and over again to get to a different split, where I kind of want just to get to like more quality of life. I forget which visual novel adjacent game did it recently, where every time you started and you run it, you can automatically just skip to like that split or that fork in the road, where I don't know, it was kind of weird too, where even on my third run, it eventually, depending on my choice, it just became my first run essentially and played out the same way. And then again, I'm just faced with, pick one of these two choices to get the ending, a different ending. So I don't know. It's just, it wasn't what I was expecting. Matt, tell me if you heard this before, but TikTok led me astray. I thought this was something else, but maybe if you're into that kind of humor, kind of heavier topics that might not go end in a positive light, maybe it's for you. But Matt, I don't know. I played those 5 runs and thought, man, I know Nicole wasn't the greatest, but damn, this is heavy. And how come Nicole can't win in this situation, Matt? Yeah. Where I know there is also Class of '09, the re-up, which is like a pseudo sequel that kind of adds more content. But
is it happier?
I don't know, Matt. I don't know. But currently, Class of '09 is, I think, $11.50 Canadian. I think I bought this for like half price during a Steam sale. But I know there's one, when you look at like the menu, you have it tells you how many endings you have, and then there's like one cinematic where I think there's a 16th ending that gives you an actual cinematic that maybe I'll try to play through. But again, when you finish a run, you can open your Gmobile sidekick, and then based on your run, you might get a text message from one of the characters you met. Matt, the last 4 text messages I think is from the otaku kid who is sending me some really disturbing imagery, and yep. All right, some text messages. So might not be for me, man. Might not be for anyone who might be sensitive for stuff or just wants to have good vibes. But I don't know. Maybe I'll keep going just to see if vibes get a bit better. Matt might have to ask you to insert a trigger warning before this segment. But yeah, Class of '09, if you're into visual novels of kind of this aesthetic, this vibe, maybe check it out. But if you're Matt, this isn't the Kira Kira visual novels that I'm used to. In many ways, Matt, I think by the end of my 5th run, I thought, man, this gives me major. Oh, was Nicole isekai'd into a villainous anime and she just can't break out of the loop? Matt, that's the energy I'm getting from Class of '09, where I need to see if any villainous stories take place in a late aughts high school to this degree. But
yeah, like Jared, like it sounds a lot. When you initially told me or were saying what this game was, I thought it was gonna be a lot lighter. I was honestly expecting
me too.
you to say something that's like something more along the lines of what was that game where it's kind of like based on, was it Facebook or like
Emily is Away? Or
yes. Was it Facebook? Yeah, like it used pseudo Facebook, right?
Depending on which Emily. I know one. I think Emily is Away used AOL or AIM, and then Emily is Away 2. I think used social media.
Oh, there was a second one.
Yes.
Oh, I should play that. I like the first Emily is Away.
Okay, Matt. I have no recent activity for Emily is Away.
Oh,
one
wait,
or
there's
2.
3 of them. I think. There's
Matt.
I see Emily is Away, then Emily is Away like 2 TOO, and then Emily is Away like, and then the heart with the 3. So I'm assuming that's the third one.
Oh, man, that's a good one. That's a good name for a third one. Damn.
Oh, man.
Is that the Facebook one?
Yeah, it looks like Emily is Away 3 looks like it's like all on a newer version of Facebook.
Yeah.
Emily is Away 2 looks like it's still using AIM. Did Emily is Away 1 or the original one use Facebook? It did, right? Or no, it looks like it's mostly using AIM. I'm just going through the screenshots on Steam.
Yeah, one of them used AIM for sure. I can't tell if it was 1 or 2. I'm pretty sure it's 1. 1 makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I was hoping for something a bit more lighter, but not light at all. Not light. That actually made me really sad. But yeah, that was Class of '09. Maybe I'll keep going. I don't know. I'm playing it on the Steam Deck. It doesn't have touchscreen support, so it's me using like the right trackpad to move the cursor and then the trigger as my click. So, yep, that's it. Class of '09. I don't know what else to say, Matt. But good vibes were not had. But Matt, what vibes were you having this week?
So, Jaren, continuing off my spending spree last week.
Yes.
One of the things that I bought last week was Arkham Horror, the Living Card Game.
Man,
And
that sounds spooky.
it isn't as spooky as I thought it was gonna be, Jaren. Or at least like this one isn't as spooky as I thought it was gonna be.
The name reminds me of if you went into an abandoned house and then you were searching around, you opened a drawer and then you found a board game that you thought looked neat, took it home, and that board game is alive. Is this Jumanji, Matt?
Jaren, I would not want this game to be Jumanji. As much as I said that, oh yeah, this isn't a spooky game, that's because, Jaren, I know it's a game. If this was real life, Jaren, the situations happening in this would be nightmarish.
Okay, Matt,
Hmm
what is this game?
So, Arkham Horror Living Card Game is a like kind of old-ish game. Like it
Okay.
was released in 2016, and then in what I bought is the 2021 version, which is a revised core set. Because this is a living card game, and for those of you who don't know what like a living card game is, a living card game is a lot like a trading card game, something like Magic the Gathering, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. But instead of there being booster packs and like starter decks and stuff like that, a living card game removes the RNG, and instead you kind of just buy a boxed product, and that product always has the exact same cards, and then you can like deck build with those cards.
Right.
And Arkham Horror Living Card Game is a co-op living card game where you build your deck, and your deck represents your investigator, and you are trying to investigate this paranormal thing that's happening inside this kind of like Lovecraftian universe.
Hmm.
And Jaren, I'm really into it. I Jaren, it is living card game. I don't have to buy boosters for this. It is co-op, so I don't have to worry about losing to somebody else in this. I only get beat by the game.
Of course.
It is co-op, but you are able to play it yourself as a solo play, which is like something I've been very into recently. And I don't know, it feels very good. It has a good difficulty to it, which I think I want to like get into more later. But Jordan, it's like a good game. Like Jaren, it satisfies my need to do some deck building, which is
Okay.
what
Fair
I
enough.
really wanted to do with this game.
Now, Matt,
Hmm
I know when it comes to living deck games, it's something that, in theory, I would like to partake in, but
hmm
kind of as you said, where I think a lot of the ones I've looked into in the past
hmm
were, kind of PvP adjacent or competitive, where it's you and a pal building your decks and then playing with one another. Where I think one of the things that I love talking to you about in regards to, more recent board games and card games in general is that they have a single player element, a co op element that allows you, just to do solo dolo if you really wanted to.
hmm
And I think with Arkham Horror, if it is something that you can play solo, that already makes me kind of a bit more intrigued than it would be if I needed someone else to play with. But Matt,
hmm hmm
my first question:
hmm
uh, how aesthetically, how I don't know, just how do the cards look? How's the card art? And I guess even just how they're laid out. And yeah, do you like how the game looks?
I mean, I like how it looks. As far as the card layout goes, it's very much like any other standard card game. Like you
Hmm.
have your, title at the top, picture in the middle, and then like keywords towards the kind of like top of the text box, and then explanation text below it. And
Right.
then some of them just have like flavor on it, and it all looks very good. I like how consistent and themed like all the cards look. It's very, I think, like very very readable in terms of like their like symbology.
Okay.
Like I think it's like pretty good about that. I like that they have a lot of keywords, and I think very importantly, this game, like like all board games, comes with a rule book, and like you kind of like read through that to do your whole like like learning how to play the game. But what this game also comes with, which I really really appreciate, is first off, this game I think supports 4 players at once, so it has like 4 reference cards that tell you, hey, this is how like everything that's gonna happen within one turn. This is all the stuff that you can generally do on your turn, like just as like on a double-sided card. Additionally, it comes with a separate book that is basically just like a thesaurus of rules, where it has a
Oh,
very
nice.
good lookup table on like, okay, basically every single, I don't know, like keyword that you would expect to find is in here. Like any, I guess, like topics are very easy to find. Like it's a very
Hmm.
good book. And as I was like playing through the games, I would have like, certain points where I need to look something up, and that table and the explanations that they give on like the actual like pages in the book, in that like extra book, are all really, really well done and like very, very concise, which I really like.
Okay. Nice.
But
And Matt, can't believe this wasn't the first thing I asked you. What's the gameplay like?
yeah. So, Jaren, the general gameplay kind of works in a kind of storytelling fashion. The way the game board is initially set up is that there will be a bunch of location cards that your players can start on. Usually, like, they'll tell you, hey, start on like this particular space. And then as a character, you are able to move from one space to another, and you are usually, to advance the story, you are usually finding clues. And a kind of thing that I like about how they're doing the story is that, or kind of like advancing the story, is that it kind of advances in two ways. Because as the investigators, your primary goal is to go to places, find clues, and then kind of just submit them where they need to be. The clues are just generic things. Like, you just kind of like go to a place, you do some rolls, and then you get like clue tokens, and then you kind of just turn in the clue tokens. And like you're turning these clues into like advance a clue tracker. And then once you submit enough clues, you have like a new objective that you need to do, and usually that's like finding more clues and like doing like just other objectives that it says on the card. The nice thing is that there's also a second kind of thing that advances automatically, where every single turn you like put another it's called like a doom counter on this card, and this is like the thing that's advancing the bad stuff happening. And it reaches a very nice balance, because most of the time the doom counters only go like at the start of each round, but there are things that can happen which will like suddenly put more doom counters on it, and then it can advance it before you expect it to advance. And I don't know, it like feels very good. One thing that I like about the co-op part of it is that while you do have player turns as a part of the game, all the player turns and all the enemy turns happen like in their own kind of group. So it'll be all player turns first and then all the enemy turns. And you can, as the player group, kind of execute your turns in whichever order you want. So like, if it was 3 people playing, you could just go, player 1, player 2, player 3. Or if player 3 has something more important, they can go first, and then like player 1 and then player 2, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Jared, like it feels very good. Like I'm doing a kind of like bad job of explaining like why it's like super interesting, I think, but I don't know, the way that the kind of like game is built, the deck building part of it comes from your investigator, where before the game starts, you're kind of like building your investigator. This investigator will have like in the core set, you have 5 investigators that you can pick from, and they all have like their own stats, whether it be like health or because it is like a Lovecraft type game, they have their sanity, they have like combat, agility, willpower, and intellect, I think, are all the stats they have, and they have varying amounts. And then all the cards in the game are kind of divided into categories, and these categories are basically like the classes of the game. And kind of just them being divided up kind of like classes, they all generally will serve a certain purpose. And then each investigator can only use cards from specific classes.
Oh, okay.
So the classes being there's the Guardian, who you're going to pick if you want, or you're going to use those kind of cards if you want consistent damage or like defense. There is kind of a two similarish categories, the Mystic and the Rogue. These are both sort of jack of all tradesy, but they kind of do it in different ways. Where the Rogue, you are able to like get resource tokens in game, and the rogue uses like resources in order to be sort of jack of all tradesy. Whereas the mystic is more so you're going to be kind of like rolling or like doing a high risk, high reward type thing instead of spending resources to do your stuff.
Okay.
And then there is the seeker class, which is the one that's really going to be very good at finding clues and doing kind of support stuff. And then there is the survivor class, which I think personally is one of my favorites because I think it like plays into how I like to play these kind of games, where they are very reactionary and they're very about bad luck mitigation. So stuff like, oh, if you like do poorly on a check, you're able to be like, oh, well, I failed this check, so now I can like, get a clue anyway because I'm spending like a card.
Okay.
And
that sounds kind of fun.
And like I think like all the classes like work very well together. All the characters work very well together. A very interesting thing I like about the way that they're doing the kind of like deck building in this is that on the investigator card, it tells you like I said, like what you're allowed to put into your deck, but then there's things that are like required for what you put into your deck, and these are usually 3 things. One, there's usually always a personalized card for each investigator, and that's usually something like, oh, for the cop, like, oh, he's obviously gonna have like a gun. And then like, oh, for like the kind of I guess like thief character, oh, he's gonna have like cards that allow him to like, evade and sneak around. And then there's something called weakness cards, and everybody has their own like predetermined weakness, and that gives like a nice kind of like look into their backstory. Because for example, the rogue, his weakness is that the rogue as a class, like you are able to collect a lot of resources and use it for your abilities. But this guy's weakness is that you have to pay a certain amount of resources by the end of the game, or you don't get to do, or you like miss out on experience at the end of a round, or at the end of an actual like game that you've like played through, which I think is like a very interesting I don't know, like story mechanic, because like it's themed after you're paying hospital bills.
Okay.
And then like they just have like general weaknesses as well. Because like, it being a Lovecraft game, of course they're gonna have stuff like, oh, you have like amnesia, or you become like paranoid of stuff, and like when you draw these cards, oh, you have to discard a certain amount of cards, or you lose all your resources or stuff like that. And I think the theming for this game is very, very on point for this, like a Lovecraft theme.
Yeah, the flavor that you've described so far makes it really, I don't know, it feels like well thought and well designed. But Matt, gotta ask you, it's a deck builder. Matt, what's the meta deck?
Jaren, I have been trying to not look at meta decks
fair,
right now.
Fair. What do you think would be a meta deck?
I think solo. I think the way to go is probably with the survivor character, or with like the detective cop type character, because I think like that's a lot of good chance mitigation. Because I think a really interesting thing about the way they've written the kind of a campaign that you go through in this game is that the game is like the campaign is broken down into like different acts, and you kind of just like play one act, and then you can like do some like deck building or stop or whatever, and then like you get new cards, you can put them into your deck, take some cards out, and then you go do the next act, that sort of thing, right? The acts don't require you to succeed, which I think is like very good.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Even if you fail the act, it carries over into like your failures or your successes will carry over into the next act or the act following that in some way, which I think is like a very nice way to do the writing for this game.
I actually really like that. I don't know, that sort of reminds me of like a tabletop RPG in a way as well.
Yeah, like that was the vibe I was getting as well, and it feels like very, very, very good.
Okay.
And Jaren, I think like
you're selling me on this.
Jaren, yes, and Jaren, there was one thing that like I think is so minor to say, but it is such a good change that they've made within this game in terms of just like a very, very base mechanic. Jaren, I've been seeing like roll a lot, like as in like rolling dice,
Yeah.
but this game doesn't have dice. It kind of has like just this bag that you draw tokens out of.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and when you do a roll, you have to like do like, kind of like just like in like an RPG, you would like do a skill check. And in the skill check, you have to technically like roll the dice and you add your character's like, whatever skill they have relevant to it, and then you compare it to the difficulty of the task that you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having a dice to add to that randomness, they instead have like this bag. It's called like the chaos bag, I think is what they call it. And inside of it, they have kind of like tokens that say stuff like, oh, 0, which is like what you add to your roll, or +1, +2, -1, -2, -3. They have a like auto pass and auto fail, and then they have like these 3 other tokens. It's like a red token, a green token, and a blue token. And these, depending on what act you're playing, they have their own kind of effects to them. So they're not always the same thing every single time. And
Nice.
yeah, and I think that this is such a good idea. Like, it seems so minor, but in a lot of games where they have custom dice, once you have those dice, that's what you're working with, right?
Okay.
And your game is now forced to be balanced around that. Whereas with this kind of like this chaos bag, they give you more tokens than you need to. Like I had said that like, oh yeah, the kind of ranges that go into this bag go from like -3 to like +2, but that is because I'm playing on the standard difficulty. They include a lot more tokens than like the ones I mentioned, where it does like go higher to like +3 or +4. And then inversely, it also goes downwards a lot more to like almost, I think the lowest one is like -7.
Okay.
And there are multiples of like the like mindless, I think like from -3 to like +2. There are multiples of them, so you can have more of them in the bag or not. And you can use that to scale the difficulty to how you want to play, which I think is like such a it's such a simple idea, but it's such a strong one with regards to like how this kind of game works and how hard you want this game to like be on yourself in terms of like your own kind of difficulty.
Okay. Matt, I think you're selling me on this. I think based on what you've told me, this seems like a really good, something you can do single player, something you can do co-op. And this and what was the other game you told me? Last Girl, I think?
Final Girl, yes. Yeah.
Final Girl. Matt, maybe this will be part of my be on the lookout next time I'm in a board game store, because Matt threw off the hunt. But yeah, Matt, final question. How did the cards feel?
They're really good. I think it's like a very nice, high quality card. Like, I think it like is the like same quality as something like a Magic or like Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Okay,
Matt? Like it has a nice feel to it.
When it comes to living card games, do you sleeve your cards?
I don't. I feel like I should, but when it comes to like living card games, there's just so much cards, and then like, there's like so much bloat in how big it's gonna be. But
Fair.
Jaren, very nicely for this game, the box has so much space for like the decks that I don't think like the bloat is gonna matter. But
Okay.
Jaren, actually, also I just remembered very nicely on the back of the box, it says like what card sleeves you need and how many of like each like size
Nice.
you need, which was like very
Matt,
good.
How many do you need?
Jaren, you need like 6 packs of card sleeves.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
one more time. What game is this, and how much would a would-be purchaser expect?
So this is the Arkham Horror Living Card Game. If you are buying the old core set, I think the old core set is like $30. The revised core set is like 55, which is what I got, but it has almost like I think it has like double the amount of cards as the original core set, and everybody like what I see is like suggesting that like that's the way that you should go if you're getting into it now.
Okay.
Because Jaren, like this is a living card game, and you know it is also a campaign based card game. So you like Final Girl, there are already kind of expansions out there. They're in a kind of like weird state right now because when the original core set came out, they would release kind of the expansions in smaller packs,
Right.
where it'd be like, oh, there's like 30 cards in this pack, 30 cards in this pack, 30 cards in like the next pack, and then you would need like 6 of these 30 card packs to like make one whole set. Now they have begun to kind of like take those old kind of like 6-pack packs and make them into just like one big box because like you're
Okay.
probably gonna be buying all of them anyway. So that is like a thing to keep aware of. They are splitting those, I think, very like kind of smartly into investigator packs and campaign packs. So if you want more, investigator cards to make your character stronger, or like I guess not stronger, but more like variable, you can buy those. Or if you just want like the story packs, you can just get the campaign stuff, which I think is a very nice medium.
Okay. Fair enough, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just to kind of close off real quick before we get to a Don't Match Me challenge.
Yes.
In addition to playing Class of '09, I've been playing some Balatro, which apparently I've been
Yeah.
pronouncing wrong the whole time, but I think we can get into that
Wait, is
another
it not? Is
time.
it not Balatro?
No, apparently
Oh, is it
I just heard,
Balatoro?
I don't know, I heard someone originally say Balatro, so that's how I've been saying it, but
Uh huh.
apparently it's wrong, but I haven't been. Maybe that will be next week's update of how to actually pronounce Balatro.
Oh,
But yeah, I've been playing the latest update, but we can kind of get into that next week. But I continue to play Hades 2.
mm-hmm.
And I know last week I only had 80 hours. I think I've played at least 5 more hours since then.
Sorry,
Just quick
I think you mean 80 minutes.
80 minutes for sure. That
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm playing 80 hours in is Bang Dream or even Balatro to a certain extent. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in terms of Hades 2, yeah, I played 5 more hours since the last time we spoke. I still haven't finished one run. I know you wanted to ask me about the final boss so far, Kronos, but
Mm-hmm.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
haven't got there, so I can't really add much to that.
Ah.
What I can add is I have seen a lot of discourse around the difficulty of it and how it might be pretty overtuned, but
Mm-hmm.
don't know anything about it, don't know anything of the mechanics. But so far, I've faced 3 of the bosses, and it's hard for me to kind of remember, but with a lot of the bosses so far, Matt, how do you feel about uh, bosses summoning a bunch of different ads at like the last kind of the home stretch of a fight? Because Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I am not a fan of having
Ah.
my screen swarmed with a bunch of random minion enemies just when I don't know, boss hits 25%, even 10% of health,
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like that isn't great. I think it does, thematically make sense. They're summoning their minions to kind of assist, but
Yeah.
if three of your bosses do that, that's kind of weird. Where I know also as well, a lot of the bosses not only are these summoning ads, but they're splitting up into kind of multiple versions of, or just multiple different bodies throughout the fights as well, which also not a lot to keep
Mm-hmm.
track of at that point. A lot of the danger AoE areas on the ground to be mindful of, where I think I've become a lot more successful, similar to like the first Hades, where it is kind of slowing my approach to different games or to different fights, where I'm not just trying to go all, as I said last week, willy-nilly, where it is me trying to play a lot more, I guess, conservative, where I'll go in, hit a few shots and then dash out. But
Mm-hmm.
I know last week I told you I only unlocked one weapon, which was, I believe, like the twin daggers or something like that. It was the high speed weapon and your alt fire or your heavy attack. No, sorry, your Y attack. I've also been playing some Devil May Cry this week.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Is a ranged you throwing knives. And I feel like so far that's been my favorite. If I build, when I do build it, is just buffing up that ranged attack, which lets me do ricochets, or when it hits the first enemy, it will turn into like 3 different shots, and then maybe I'll get like a boomerang effect where it comes back to me, and if it hits when coming back to me, if it hits someone from the behind, it does also additional damage. Where
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that, because I'm at that point where I only have one like life, where I can only revive once.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting until I get, like 3 of those before I really start pushing hard. But for now, I'm just doing my baby range attacks, and I think it's working relatively
Uh-huh.
well. I know I unlocked a third weapon, which is like a big moon axe, which, uh, the slow but heavy weapon has a follow through, but it's, Y attack is, you'll put like a shield up in front of you that kind of also deflects weapons, and you can eventually get boons to fire it in front of you. Not
Mm-hmm.
not the biggest fan of heavy weapons, especially in a game like this. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I never really jived with a lot of the heavier weapons when it comes to roguelites like this, just because even though it really feels nice to essentially one hit enemies in some regards, I don't know, Matt. It's just that committing to that follow through that also, that, it makes me clench my butt a lot because I don't know what's going to happen, Matt.
Yeah, because like with
Uh,
heavy weapons, especially in a lot of roguelites, I feel like a lot of roguelikes, kind of like, I guess, like what you were saying about the bosses, they are very, I guess, like enemy volume heavy,
yes.
which makes, I think, like those slow attack weapons a lot more annoying to use.
hmm
Like it's,
Especially if you're not doing a sweep or like an AoE that gets a lot
mm-hmm,
of enemies,
mm-hmm,
it really puts you in some unfavorable situations. But again, maybe it's just I'm not unlocking or picking the right boons to really help me in that situation, where again, it's still trying to adapt to some of the new mechanics as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week, but Mel, she has a sprint where you have your dash,
mm-hmm.
and I've been seeing some mixed things about the dash. Apparently, people don't like the dash, Matt, just because. In terms of Mel's dash, you hit it and then she'll have like a shadow trail behind her. And
Mm-hmm.
once that trail disappears, you can dash again. So I'm not sure if you can unlock power ups or even use boons to do like double dash or even triple dashes. But again, it's an escape, but it's an escape on cooldown, which is kind of you have to get used to. But if you dash and then hold down the dash button, Mel will start sprinting. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's trying to get into the mindset of, this enemy is going to have some sort of beam or something chasing me where I need to dash, and then instead of instinctually doing a double dash, I need to just start sprinting out of there. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's also something I'm trying to, become more comfortable with as well. But again, I feel like I've only scratched the surface with what's been offered in the in the game so far. Again, it feels content complete, but I know in the last run that I did, Matt, so essentially when you start a run in Hades, you go to that area where you have your the armory. That's where you can get your new weapons, your new like harvesting weapon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start a run, you're going down to the underworld, but uh there was always another path that kind of goes up towards Olympus. And in my current run, all of a sudden I get a message from, I think, one of the gods that's like, hey, you should like come up here to
Uh-huh.
Olympus as well, where I haven't done that yet, but from what I heard, Matt, apparently the Olympus route is a much different game than your typical, underworld tried and true Hades route. So I'm really curious to see how Olympus differs in Hades too. But from what I've heard, it's a lot more contained, where you get a set of a set of weapons, a set of boons, and you have to kind of make do. So I'm really curious to see what that actually is. So I will probably report back to you on that next week with my Hades check-in. But yeah, not a lot of progress, but enough, Matt. I do want to say the third area, I was actually really surprised at how open it was. The area itself is really big, and there were a lot of power-ups being guarded by enemies that got me thinking, how would you react to kind of like an open world roguelite in a way, or just an open world game kind of in a Hades style? Not necessarily Hades itself, but mechanically
like
similar.
Type thing.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty fun to play through.
Am I just thinking of Zelda at this point?
I mean, I think the isometric part myself maybe feel a little different, but
yeah,
in essence, I think you might be thinking of Zelda at a slightly different angle.
Do you think the roguelite genre lends itself to big open areas?
I don't
or
know.
Like an open world?
I don't think that it lends itself well to an open world, just because, I don't know, you need to do a lot of exploring, and I feel like you losing a character costs you so much in terms of where you're going. Right. I don't know, that it makes it, I don't know, more cumbersome, and makes you maybe want to take less real risk in terms of doing the open world.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I was so surprised at the third biome, I guess, just because, with Hades, you expect your typical level to be pretty self-contained, these little dungeon rooms, these corridors. But yeah, this was bigger open fields with power-ups being guarded by enemies, and even environmental effects too. So that's something that was really, interesting as well, where all the environments so far have been pretty different. But again, I'm really curious to see how they really expand on it, just because I have met a few characters that seem to be using placeholder art as well, which is kind of jarring considering how nice the art is right now. But it's early access, Matt.
Have you run into any of the placeholder lines and stuff, or no?
No, not that I remember. I've seen placeholder art, but not lines.
I see.
Now I'm curious to run into the placeholder lines.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I think I explained that bad. It's not really placeholder lines. It's more so the lines that kind of break the fourth wall about there not being content.
Oh, no, I haven't really run into that yet. But now I'm curious too, Matt. Now I'm curious. But yeah, it's something that I've been playing on my Steam Deck. Haven't run into any tech issues yet. But yeah, I feel like I just need to start kind of scratching more of the mechanics, more of the other stuff as well. Need to build a fishing rod so I can start fishing that. Need to review how the fishing is, because fishing mini game will really make or break my attitude towards a game. But yeah, that's it with Hades 2. Hopefully I'll play a bit more and actually be able to engage with some of the questions that you asked. But man, I'll keep those questions you had in the back burner for now. Now. But Matt, we're running close to the end here.
Yes.
Not as beefy boy of an episode as previous episodes have been, but substantial enough. But Matt, can't end without a challenge, and I believe it's your turn this week.
Yes, Jaren, this week I think I'm doing kind of a cop-out on the Don't Match Me, Jaren.
Matt, if Hades didn't save me from last week, I'm keeping that my cop-out, Don't Match Me, for when we really need it. But Matt, my cop-out, Don't Match Me, was so stupid.
Jaren, I think my cop-out, Don't Match Me, is even more kind of a cop-out. Because, Jaren, I'm also gonna play the cop out. Don't match me.
Okay.
Because Jaren, this isn't a don't match me, Jaren. It's a, it was a really big thing for me, kind of like taking that step back to look at the Arkham Horror Chaos bag. So Jaren, due to the removal of dice in that game, Jaren, we are going to not match my dice.
Oh. Oh no, man.
Jaren, this is the purest RNG we're gonna have. Don't match me.
Okay.
Okay. Jaren, we're gonna start from the top and go down. And I wanna, Jaren, I'm one of those weirdos who believes that items have inanimate items have feelings, so I want to use every single type of my dice that I can.
Okay.
So Jaren, I am going to start with the 100-sided. It is not a 100-sided dice. It is two 10-sided dice, and I'm going to use one for the 10's number and one for the 1's number.
Okay.
So,
Matt, I think you know what number I'm picking.
Okay. Jared, I think I know what I'm going to pick. I think I'll go with another very common number. And hopefully neither of us get messed up by this. So, picking a number between 1 and 100. I'm going to roll this in 3, 2, 1, rolling. Oh, Jaren, if your number was 23, you are out.
Matt? I originally picked 16. I mean, not 16, 69, but
nice.
My dad's birthday tomorrow. Had to switch 13, so I'm still in it.
True. I went with 42, Jared. 42.
Ooh,
classic. But Jared, we're gonna go a lot more narrow now, Jared. We're going into the classic Dungeons and Dragons dice, the D20. So you need to pick a number from 1 to 20 and not match the result of my dice.
Okay.
So gotta get ready. I'm gonna roll this in 3, 2, 1. If you picked 4, you are out.
Matt, remember growing up on Game FAQs and the meme? Matt, Game FAQ meme of 4 always wins? Not today, Matt. Not today.
Oh, man. I got out with the 15 on that one.
I picked 13 again.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Still in it. Okay.
Jaren, going down another dice size, we're going to the D12. The D12.
Okay.
So we're going from 1 to 12. So picking a number between 1 and 12, I'm going to roll in 3, 2, 1, rolling. And it maxed out. Jaren, the number is 12.
Now I was close. I went with 10 there. Went with D10 there.
Jaren, I went with 7.
Nice.
I'm safe. And now, Jaren, we're going to half it, go down to the D6, the classic D6.
Yep.
So, going to roll it in...
Man, my tummy hurts. This one's scary.
Jaren, we're rolling in 3, 2, 1, rolling. Jaren, I got a 2.
Fuck.
Oh, no.
God damn it. That,
oh, man.
The dice wasn't my favorite this week.
Jaren, our RNG just giveth, RNG just taketh away.
That's what I get for going with the birthday motif, Matt. Damn.
Oh, man. Damn.
Feels bad. Feels bad. Matt, I know if I can find the image, I know what image I'm picking, and the episode art for this week will only make sense when people get to this portion of the episode.
Nice. Oh, man. So for the people who are still in it, I'm going down one more dice size to the D4. So the 4-sided dice.
Okay.
We're picking a number from 1 to 4. I'm going to roll in 3, 2, 1. Rolling the number down it. Jaren, I'm out because I have matched the dice, and the dice number is 2.
Matt, even though I'm out, why'd I pick 2 again? I'm double out.
Jaren, I picked 2 to honor you, and I shouldn't have done it.
Damn. Okay, Matt, I definitely need to find the image I'm thinking of right now. But
oh, man.
Matt, that was actually a really good dope match made this week. We left it up to the heart of the dice, and sometimes the dice giveth, and
the dice taketh away.
Feels bad, Matt. Feels bad. But you know what doesn't feel bad, Matt?
What's that, Jaren?
conversing with you for another episode of The Mistake Zone. Once again, Matt, want to thank you, as always, for joining me this week and editing the podcast.
Yo, thanks, Jaren. I want to thank you for, as always, hosting the podcast.
Thanks, man. I want to thank moms, our moms, anime moms, video game moms. I want to thank Bayonetta. Once again, Matt, want to thank, everyone at, who put in the work and unfortunately was hit once again by the Microsoft layouts, especially, Tingle Gameworks, because Matt, I loved me some Hi-Fi Rush. Thought there was definitely some potential there to explore, different characters, different genres, and hopefully not only do the employees affected, just bounce back, but Matt, hopefully we see something similar because me, Matt, that love of rhythm games with a character action game. Definitely something I want to see explored again in the future. Hopefully, Matt. I'm hoping. And Matt, other than that, please take it away.
This has been Mistake Zone, and we're all out of rolling dice.